everyone, I'm Sofi and greeting you from my studio. I'm inviting you to make a tote bag today. This bag that I'm calling a tote bag, actually it's a purse because it has two handles and a tab, and inside it has a lining with a patch pocket. Also at the back of it, it has another outside pocket. Let's talk about fabric choices that you may have to do this project. For instance, here I am using not very thick fabric as the main fabric of the bag, and medium weight, some sort of cotton polyester blend. Actually, the content of the fabric doesn't matter. It's just the weight of the fabric, the color, print is what you need to be more worried about. And I found this swatch among my fabrics that I decided to cut the patch pocket and the tab out of. As you can see, the tab is cut into this cut corner, but you can design your tab in any shape that you want to after I introduce you the pattern. Or the pockets, actually, they don't have to be square, you can cut them curvy if you want to. And one more thing that I would like to bring to your attention is this bag has this kind of cutout corner also. I drafted a pattern for you to show you the measurements and everything, but you can draft this very easily for your project straight on the fabric. You don't have to make patterns. But the main purpose for me doing this pattern was in case I need to cut another bag. Second, to show you the numbers clearly so you understand how are you going to draft this and how are you going to cut. Pretty much the main shape is a rectangular shape, which is 26 inches long. 26 inches long, and then you draft the square shapes, and then you draft 12 inches here, and from 12 inches you go 1.5 inches in, 2 inches across, 1.5 inches in, you create this cutout. Actually, this cutout is the cutout that I just showed you at the bottom of the purse, and the width of the purse is 14 inches. We have another pattern piece. This is my second piece, which is going to be my purse handle pattern, where I am going to cut two fabrics. And the size of this handle is going to be 26 inches long and 6 inches wide. So 26/6. So that's pattern number 2. We're going to need another pattern. This is my purse tab pattern, which is 8 inches long and 6 inches to the cutout, and this is 3 inches. You can change these measurements any way you want to. For instance, if you wanted the handle short, you don't do 26 but shorter. But 6 inches is kind of important because when I make the handles, you will see why. The last but not least, I need another pocket pattern, which is created for the patch pockets that I had. One outside in the back of the purse, the other one on the lining. And the size of this pocket is 7 inches over 6.5. Again, the dimensions are changeable. Since I cannot give my pattern to you to copy, or if you don't want to, you don't have to make the pattern. You can straight go ahead and draft it on your fabric that you have. Now, this pattern is telling you that you see the direction of the fabric, this is the straight grain, runs this way. That means, let's say if I have a piece of fabric here sitting in front of me, doesn't have salvages, so I can tell which one is the direction of my fabric. If the salvage was here, I would know that my grain line here should be running parallel to the salvage. If the selvage was there, I will be placing my pattern like this and cutting. The reason we follow the grain is because on that direction the fabric doesn't stretch, and we definitely want that direction to go on the length of the purse. So this is going to go like that. That's the straight direction. Let's say if I don't have a selvage, how do I know which one is the straight grain of my fabric? You can easily tell that by playing with it. For instance, when I fold the fabric on this direction, it folds very nicely and smoothly, and it doesn't stretch. But when I fold it the other way, it stretches just a bit, and when I want to fold, it bunches up. That means this is a straight grain of my fabric, and this is the cross grain. So again, since this is the straight grain, I am going to place my pattern this way and cut. But the reason I'm not going to use my pattern to cut this purse is because I want to show you how to draft this. Okay, on one side of the fabric, I drafted a straight line, and then if I place one of my ruler's lines on this line, it should be giving me a square line right here along the fabric, like this. So I'm drafting a 90-degree line from that corner, 90-degree line. That is going to be 26 inches, we said. So this will be 26 inch long. Here's my 26-inch mark right here. From here I'm going to draft a straight line again, closer to the edge of the fabric, 90-degree again. We said that the width of the purse is 14 inches. Here's my 14-inch point, like this. If you don't have a long ruler, you can measure your 14 inches right at the middle also, and draft it, and 14 inches of course on the other side, and connect those points to each other like this. Now 12 inches away from this edge, we're going to create that little squarish shape, which is 2 inches wide. The same thing is going to happen on the opposite side, so 12 and 14. So on this line I'm going to create a square line, which is 1.5 inch wide and 1.5 inch wide, and I'm going to draft my square shape. The same thing will happen right here. You see I'm creating a square line, which is 1.5 inch long, another one, and then, so that's my square. So pretty much drafting one time is enough to cut all the layers of the purse. Obviously, it goes without saying that all the fabrics that are going to be used in your project, doesn't matter what you make, they should be pressed in advance. I would like to talk about other fabrics that are included in this purse besides the self fabric and the lining. The reason why this purse is like kind of standing like that, or the tab is kind of, solid, is because I included this kind of pressed fabric inside of it. This is one of those fabrics that you get your bags in. Those are bags kind of, or you have a fabric like this, you can use it to give some structure to your bag. In this, today I'm going to use different fabric for that, because you can use any fabric you want to. But I just want to let you know that there are some other fabrics inside of it, and that's what I'm going to show you in a second. I have prepared a cut for you to show you the layers. For this particular purse, I'm going to use this side of the fabric as the self of the fabric. Also, I'm cutting fusible fabric because I'm going to fuse this so it becomes a little bit stiffer. The fusible is a pressed fabric that has dots on it, glue dots, dry glue dots. So I'm going to attach it right on top of the wrong side of this pressed fabric. Then I have the lining fabric and then one layer of muslin. So all these layers of fabrics I put on top of each other nicely, and then I drafted the draft that I showed you in like a minute ago. Let's say if this was the self, I would be placing this on top of all that big pile. I would be using either weights, which I like very much to do. The reason I like these weights is because the fabric stays flat when I cut. But if I don't have weights and I want to pin them, I will be pinning just a few pins, let's say at the corners, not more than 4 or 5 pins, like this, so the fabric stays in the place, so your layers would not move and twist, and then simply you will start cutting. When you cut, you stay on your lines and cut them clean and beautiful, so when you are done, all pieces are cut at the same time, so you don't have to draft these drafts over and over again. Okay, after I'm done with the purse body fabrics, I'm gonna put this aside, and let me show you how to cut the tab. The tab will be cut again. You are going to draft squares and then another square, 8 inches long, 7 inches wide, and then you cut out the corners just any way you want to. It's up to you. So I took my time and prepared the cut, where I cut 2 layers of fabric. As you can see, they're sitting face to face. And usually when you copy anything or when you cut, you always copy your pattern on the wrong side of the fabric, never on the right side. So therefore I put my right sides together and drafted my pattern and copied my pattern, traced it, and at the same time I cut 2 layers of fusibles because I want to fuse both of these fabrics to have a little bit stiffer tab. If I wanted to, I could cut another layer of muslin and I would make my tab even heavier if I wanted to. For the pocket, you see I kind of had these swatches, one out of this floral print fabric and the other one the plaid fabric for the lining, because I need 2 pockets, one for the lining and one for the self of the purse. So it has to have these dimensions. You simply can draft it on your fabric and cut. I already have my pockets cut and I'm going to show them to you. After I cut my pockets, this is the wrong side of my lining fabric. I cut a piece of, say, 1.25 inch wide piece of fusible interlining and place it glue side down to the wrong side of my pocket because I want the opening of the pocket to be a little bit stiffer, and this pocket obviously has one already in there. You need to cut 2 of them, one for this lining opening, the other one for the outside pocket opening. When you fuse it, you don't iron, you press, meaning you put your iron right in the middle of the fusible and steam it so it connects itself to the fabric. And then if I want to go ahead and prepare this pocket, I'm going to fold 1/4 inch first, 1/4 inch first, press it, and then about 1 inch or 3/4 inch if you want to, and nicely fold it and press. This is just a regular patch pocket, and if you glide your hand over it, it will go nice and flat. And then from here, I'm going to fold say about 1/4 of an inch, little generous 1/4 of an inch. So my pocket is ready to be sewn. I would be pressing my outside pocket also at the same time. This one I went ahead and stitched this seam first. So I'm going to stitch here first, and then I'm going to place this on the appropriate fabrics and sew them, but that's a little bit later. So I am fusing other pieces also. You see, this is the glue side, the scratchy side. I'm going to place this face down on the wrong side of the fabric. Same thing is happening here. These are my tabbed fabrics, and again, place it and steam, press, steam, and let the fabric cool down just like that for a couple of seconds. So these are ready. Now I'm fusing my purse stuff. Patiently press it without moving the fabric, without twisting, because if you distort your fabric, the glue that melts because of my steam, when it cools down, it will make the fabric being crooked. In other words, that crookedness will be embedded in the memory of the fabric. So that's why I try to press it on the length of the fabric and press it well, because if you don't, this fusible might detach itself from the fabric. When that happens, it creates bubbles on the surface. So nicely and patiently press it into place. So at this point, you already drafted your pieces, you cut them, and you fuse all the pieces that you needed to fuse. Now let's start constructing the purse. So that's my purse fabric fused. I want to make it more heavier, a little bit more heavier. Therefore, I'm going to stitch this muslin layer to it. Can you see, for this kind of project, I really would like to use all like pre-used fabrics, recycle them to make this kind of project. It's, you know, you can use like sheets or whatever, like fabric sitting in there, or an old dress fabric or something that you can cut and use them for your purse, especially for inside fabrics. I want these fabrics, all layers, to work as one. Therefore, I'm going to pin and I'm going to stitch right closer to the edge. Stitch like this, so this muslin becomes one with my purse fabric. Now, let's say if you don't want to use this other additional layer of fabric, you don't have to. Or you don't have a fusible fabric, you want to use another fabric, so you give some weight to it. You can choose your inside construction fabrics also. Let's sew this. I'm using my basting stitch to really quickly go through this stitching because this is not a main stitch. It is here just to keep the fabrics together, so when I sew them, they work together. corners and everything, this would be enough. So the muslin became one with my purse. So this is the kind of the weight of my fabric right now. So now let's stitch the pockets. This patch pocket can go anywhere you want to. Obviously you understand that here we're going to have that square. Proportionally, the way it looks right, you can put it wherever you want to. By the way, when we're talking about patch pockets, before I secure my pocket to the purse, I would like to show you another choice that you can have. Let's assume you think that this pocket is too flimsy because you want to put your telephone in here. You want it to be a little bit weighty, a little bit more durable. You see what I've done? Before I stitch that seam, I cut one layer of the lining and placed it right under the fold, just like that. So when I do it and when I stitch this, this is going to again become one fabric. The lining is going to become one with my pocket fabric. So let me use this one instead of this one. Pin your fold in place so it doesn't twist, and stitch both of the fabrics, both of the layers together. Of course, I should not forget to bring my stitch number on 2. Here I'm going to use my chance and stitch my lining pocket also. Now again I am going to fold 1/4 inch and fold both fabrics together and put my hand, push it against the fold so it will stay flat, and 2 fabrics together are going to be folded. Let me even up the edge. Before sewing the lining pocket also, let me go through my pressing one more time so it looks nice. So let's put the pocket in its place first. Okay, if it's difficult for me to adjust it, what I can do is I can decide where I want the pocket to start from. Let's say if I want to push this 3 inches down from the top, so my pocket is going to be right here, and maybe 4 inches from the side. So 3 inches down, 4 inches over, and I am going to pin my pocket just right here. And the other side is going to be the same. You see, if I measure 4 inches, that will be 4 inches and 3 inches down. And I'm going to secure this in the place also. With small pinches, secure the pocket in the place. And let's prepare the lining also. Since my pocket has the same dimensions, I'm going to do the same thing with this one also. So 3 inches down, 4 inches from the edge, and fix it in the place, make it straight, and pin. let's stitch them. This stitch that I made on my fabric is called Bartok. This Bartok is pretty much very tight and very small zigzag stitch on my machine that I'm going to apply at the opening of my pocket, so my pocket sides at the opening are strong enough to hold in the place. I could apply different type of treatments, but let's try this one. In order for me to get this stitch on my machine, I put my zigzag on the smallest measurement, and the other one came on zigzag icon also, and then I put my stitch tab almost on 0, so my stitch length is very small, almost none, and my zigzag is very narrow. That's when you get your Bartok stitch. Okay, so set up your machine accordingly and follow me. Okay, after I do about ½ inch of that, I move back to my straight stitch and continue stitching. Okay, stop at the corner. Leave your needle inside, pivot. Again, stop at the corner, needle is in, lift up the presser foot and turn. So when I come closer to the edge, about ½ inch away from my stitch, almost here, I go back again to my small zigzag and Bartok. Okay, here's my Bartok, and that's the pocket. On the lining, I'm not going to do Bartok because it's not a thick fabric. I'm going to stitch it pretty much like a shirt, man's shirt pocket with a little triangular shape design. In small corners, you must walk so you are not ruining the look of your treatment. So do stitch and stop. So this corner, this pocket corner is stitched like this. Once the pockets are stitched, now we go to the next step, which is starting to sew the sides of the purse. So you fold it face to face, put them together, the sides, put them together, and we're going to stitch only here and ½ inch seam allowance. Pin it if you need to so it doesn't move. I threaded my machine kind of like a neutral color that it will be okay for both of the fabrics, so I don't have to change my thread constantly, and I can continuously stitch my lining and my face fabric together. So here I'm stitching again ½ inch seam allowance here. Now the other side, the opposite side of the purse. Okay, so this is the side of the purse that I'm going to press open. As you can see, this hole is still open and we need to press this flat. If you don't have a sleeve pressing board or another pressing board at home, you can simply take a towel, you can fold it double and roll it tight, tie it with the sewing thread. It will become a seam roll that you can stick inside of the purse and press this until the corner. Now we press the lining's side seams. So as you can see, my pocket is inside and my seam allowances are out because this is going to go like this in the purse. And here's my purse also with a patch pocket. Now I'm going to sew the corners. Okay, so here's my corner that I have to stitch. I fold it like this and try to hold my seam right in the middle of these 2 inches. Okay, like this. You can pin it so it stays like that for you to sew. And I'm going to be stitching crosswise like this, 1/2 inch away from this cut here in all 4 corners, 2 on the self and 2 on the lining. Let's get the other pieces ready. Now I am going to sew the tabs. The tab pieces. I put them face to face. And then I decided to add one more layer of muslin on this one also. And pin so all the pieces stay together. Seam allowance for this will be 1/4 inch. When you come to the corner, stop, leave the needle in, turn, again, let's press it one time. Now, before I turn this inside out, I'm going to clip the corners. Stay 2 threads away from the stitch so you don't damage it. Okay, like this. Turn inside out. Push the corners out. You can use a blunt point, either a pencil point or a scissors point. Don't push too hard and push the corners out. if you were doing a round corner, then you will be clipping all the round shapes. And then push the seams out like this with your fingers. Twist and push them out like that and press. When you do it, make sure that you push the seam out as much as possible so the fabric doesn't chew right there, doesn't fold. I'm going to apply this top stitch so it would look nice and well made, tailored. So that's what we're going to do right now. Say about large 1/4 inch away from the fold, we're going to stitch parallel to the edge. Sometimes when you stitch it, this kind of structure, the fabric might twist. So since you're stitching this for the first time, you can pin and pin along the edge. So when you come closer to the corner, start walking so you're not overstepping the line. Again, stop and walk. So this piece is ready. Now we're going to work on the handle, the last piece.
5, 4, 3.
So I made one of my handles, and I'm going to show you how I came up with this. So this is that piece that was 26 inches long and 6 inches wide. Here's what I want you to do. Fold this first and create a crease. Then open and fold your edge of the fabric, whichever side you want first, and bring the edge, cut edge, to the crease and press it into place. As you can see, the unfinished edges are touching each other right at the center. Now I'm going to fold this one more time. So as you can see, instead of putting another fabric inside of it and make it more durable, I use the fabric itself to create that density. In case something is not pressed the way you want to, you can open up and press it again. So you get exactly what you want. The edges should be even, like this. And now I'm going to stitch about 1/4 inch away from the edge, both edges. So I have all the pieces ready. Now it's time to compile them on top of each other. I measured 1.5 inches from the seam everywhere, 1.5 inches on the other side, also 1.5 inches on the other side also. And then I'm going to place my handle and pin it into place. Make sure that you're connecting it correctly so your handle doesn't twist. Okay, double check to see if your handles are connected correctly. Now I am getting ready to connect my tab. And the tab is going to be connected from the pocket side, which is the wrong side, back side of the purse. So here's my tab. I'm going to put equally away from the handles. Actually, I understand that this is going to go like this. If you have a print fabric like I do, you might prefer certain side of it. For instance, do I like this side hanging like that, or I want the opposite side? I think I like the opposite side because a lot of flowers are happening here. So which means I am going to placing this way. So when I fold it over the other side, I see this hanging on the right side of the fabric. So I go back again, place it equally away from the handles, hold it in place, and pin in a few places so it will not move. Here, the next step is going to be connecting this purse with the lining. So what I want you to do, double check everything before you go ahead, because if something is not correctly connected, later on you have to undo everything and do it again. So here's my tab. The tab is correct. It's hanging on this side. I like this side, and then the handles are going to be like this. That's correct too. Okay, so this is ready. Now, what we need to do is we need to push the lining, the wrong side out, the reverse side out, like this. And we're going to push the purse inside of this. Now, make sure that the pocket that is inside of the lining folds whichever side you want to. Do you want the pocket to go this side or the other side? So if this is the back of my purse and I want the pocket to be right on the other side of the pocket, then the pocket is kept on my side. If you want the pocket to be other side, be aware of that. Make your decision right now. And then what you need to do is you place the purse inside of the lining, like this. Now, you're going to find the side seam and connect it with the side seam of your lining. Pin into place. Let's go to the other side. Find the seam, connect it with your lining seam. Then I'm going to go in between the side seams and unpin and pin these pins back again on the whole thickness of the purse and the lining. You see, these pins are readily available for us to unpin and pin. You go around and pin the purse with the lining throughout the edge. Like this. Now you see again at this point the lining wrong side is out, and I'm going to stitch 1/2 inch seam allowance right here around the opening. Sometimes if you think that this bag is going to carry a lot of weight, then where the handle is right now, I walked over the handle, I can go back and stitch over so it's kind of securely attached. I should not forget to mention that in front of the purse, we're going to leave about 4 inches opening so we can pull the purse out from. Later on, we're going to close that opening by hand. I will show it to you when I'm done. You see, this is the front of the purse, meaning this is where the tab is. At the front, I left little opening, so I didn't stitch that completely. So I started from there and then came and stopped right here. Or if you stitched it, open up simply, because you need this opening to pull the purse out from here. Let's press this first. So now let's press it. Make sure that the lining doesn't jump out. Push it slightly in and press it flat. Push your hand over the edge so it will relax the fabric. So this is my opening. I am going to adjust it nicely so it stays until I'm ready to sew. You see, with my fingers I push the seam out as much as possible, like this, because soon I'm going to top stitch this seam so my lining will rest and stay inside of the purse. Okay, so now I'm ready to start top stitching. Take a needle and thread and make your thread 2 ends, and let's close this opening. So I hide my knot underneath, can open the fold and leave the knot inside like that. Okay, so I'm going to do blind stitch to connect the fabric lips to each other. So first I travel through the fold of the lining for small 1/4 of an inch. You can do even 1/8 of an inch. So it's like nice and firm. Now I jump over the lining side. Come back to the purse. Please don't make long floats. Let's say wherever I came out, I will be going immediately right at the back and stitch it like that so you don't see my thread floating. secure the thread, pass through the loop, tight, and then pass through the fabric once, one more time, and cut the thread. So now I am going to top stitch right here, about small half an inch away from the edge of the lining or the purse. So I'm going to be stitching right there from the outside. I would suggest you to pin your lining so it's nicely and firmly folded under, so it doesn't jump out and later on give you bad surprises. You see I'm pushing the lining down because I don't want my lining to show. It is difficult to control when the purse is under the presser foot, so the lining doesn't jump out. That's why it will be better for you to pin first. See here, also pull your tab and nicely connect it like this. You can even make your top stitch a 1/4 inch away from the edge, or generous 1/4 inch away from the edge where I'm securing. Let's press it. In case you have any threads hanging, clean them up. And after you press it, what you can do is, if you want to, you can press the corners also to give shape to it, or even you can top stitch it if you want to. You see like where the handle is stopping? If I press it like this, again, if you want to, you can just like top stitch a little bit and let it go if you want it to be structured like that or looking like structured. So the purse is ready, it's pressed. Again, as I said, if you want to top stitch right there, you can top stitch, so it gives more structured look. Here is my back pocket, and if you look inside of my purse, that's my little patch pocket in there, that's my lining. Here, in order for your tab to stay hanging like this, you can either put a button snap or a magnetic snap if you have one. You can buy them online, or you can put like self-covered button so it creates a weight and kind of like keeps the tab hanging like that. So that is your back project that I'm done for you. And I'm Sofi Kachmanyan. I was very happy to do this demonstration for you. If you need any pattern making videos or any other sewing videos, you go to my page on YouTube and find them for your use. Also, I have a draping studio called jasmineg.com. Okay, so you can check that up too. If you like my presentation, please like my video and subscribe for it, because there are some other videos coming up, and share it with your friends. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.